There is a particular kind of stillness that arrives late at night. Not the silence of emptiness, but the quiet of things continuing gently, almost invisibly. While we rest, countless processes unfold around us. Air moves, water settles, roots extend a fraction further into the soil. Tonight, we will spend some time with a simple question. What does it mean to respond to the world without moving through it? We often associate intelligence with motion, with pursuit, with rapid reaction. An animal turns its head, adjusts its path, makes a choice in seconds. But there is another way to meet the world, a slower way, one rooted in patience rather than speed. Plants live anchored to a single place. From the moment a seed opens, its future is bound to its surroundings. It cannot walk toward shade. It cannot run from danger. And yet, over millions of years, plant life has spread into deserts, wetlands, forests, tundra, and cliffsides. Not by fleeing difficulty, but by adapting within it. To understand this, we have to loosen our definition of intelligence. Instead of asking whether a plant thinks like an animal, we might ask something quieter. Can a living system gather information, compare signals, store traces of past events, and adjust its future behavior? If the answer is yes, perhaps intelligence is not a single invention of the brain, but a spectrum of strategies for surviving complexity. A plant is constantly bathed in signals: light intensity, light color, gravity, moisture gradients, the chemistry of the soil, the presence of neighboring roots, the faint trace of compounds released by insects. None of these signals arrive one at a time. They overlap. They conflict. They fluctuate. And yet, growth is not chaotic. Roots often bend toward moisture while avoiding toxins. Leaves angle themselves to reduce self-shade. Seeds delay germination until temperature and chemical cues align with safer conditions. These are not random expansions. They are filtered responses, shaped by context. Consider memory. In animals, memory is tied to neural tissue. But in plants, experience can be written into chemistry. When exposed repeatedly to mild stress, some plants alter the sensitivity of their internal signaling pathways. The next time stress appears, their response is faster, stronger, more efficient. The threshold has shifted. Nothing like a thought has occurred, and yet something has been retained. This retention often lives in molecular marks, layered over DNA. Subtle modifications that change how genes are expressed without rewriting the genetic code itself. Through these epigenetic adjustments, a plant's history becomes part of its present behavior. In some cases, traces of stress can even influence offspring. Seeds formed after drought may germinate with altered sensitivity to water availability. It is not foresight in a conscious sense, but it is a biological echo of experience. Now imagine a forest. Above ground, trunks appear separate, distinct, individual. Below ground, roots intertwine with fungal networks that connect tree to tree in vast underground webs. Through these pathways, nutrients can be redistributed. Chemical signals can travel from one plant to another. When one tree experiences insect damage, it may release compounds that move through shared fungal threads. Nearby trees respond by increasing defensive chemistry before being attacked themselves. No voice, no sound, only molecules moving through soil. A signal sent, a signal received. Behavior altered. Communication without language. Coordination without a leader. It begins to resemble a distributed system rather than isolated organisms. Each plant senses locally, yet contributes to a larger pattern. There is no central command, no botanical brain hidden beneath bark. Instead, information processing is spread across tissues, across individuals, across species. And this distributed design changes how we think about decision-making. In laboratory settings, roots placed in split environments, one rich in nutrients, the other poor, do not divide growth equally. They allocate more expansion into rewarding zones. But if nutrients are paired with high salinity, which can damage tissues, growth may hesitate unless the benefit outweighs the risk. This balancing act resembles a cost-benefit evaluation, not in words, not in awareness, but in integrated chemical gradients that bias development one way rather than another. Even time becomes something plants handle with quiet sophistication. Most species possess internal molecular clocks. These circadian systems oscillate over roughly 24 hours, regulating gene expression in anticipation of sunrise and sunset. In constant darkness, the rhythms continue. Leaves may still shift position. Metabolism may still rise and fall. This means the plant is not merely reacting to light. It is forecasting it. The internal clock adjusts when environmental cues drift, gradually synchronizing to new patterns. In this way, the plant maintains an internal model of time, aligning physiology with predictable cycles. Prediction does not require imagination. It requires pattern retention and adaptive adjustment. And plants do this continuously. Spatial challenges reveal similar subtlety. Climbing species extend tendrils in gentle arcs, a movement so slow it appears still to the human eye. As they grow, they alter trajectory in response to gradients of light, humidity, or touch. When a support structure is nearby, growth patterns often bias toward it. Once contact is made, coiling tightens through feedback between mechanical pressure and cellular elongation. The structure becomes part of the plant's strategy, a feature of the environment incorporated into its own architecture. Elsewhere, Carnivorous plants demonstrate conditional logic embedded in tissue. Some species require multiple trigger events within a brief interval before closing a trap. A single disturbance is ignored. Only when signals accumulate within a defined window does action occur. If A and B happen close together, then respond. If not, conserve energy. This is temporal integration. Information held briefly in electrical and chemical gradients before crossing a threshold. Across these examples, one theme repeats: integration. A plant cell is not specialized solely for signaling, as a neuron is. It is metabolic, structural, communicative, all at once. Signals move as electrical pulses, as calcium waves, as hormones diffusing through vascular channels. No single site holds authority. Instead, behavior emerges from countless small exchanges. In complex soil environments, root tips explore irregular pathways. When blocked, they redirect. When encountering competition from kin, growth may soften. When facing unrelated neighbors, strategies may shift. Even genetically identical seedlings can diverge in growth patterns under identical conditions. This variability is not necessarily error. It may represent a probabilistic strategy, diversifying responses to unpredictable futures. In this way, intelligence begins to look less like a spotlight and more like a network of lanterns. Small sources of responsiveness interacting, none aware alone, yet collectively adaptive. Modern researchers sometimes describe plant behavior as non-neural computation. Input is transformed into output through biochemical rules. Certain responses activate only when multiple conditions coincide. Others are inhibited if conflicting signals dominate. These rule-based transformations resemble logic gates, though they unfold in minutes or hours rather than microseconds. Speed, it turns out, is not a requirement for sophistication. This perspective has begun to influence technology. Engineers designing soft robots study how vines anchor themselves. Developers of decentralized systems examine how roots explore without central oversight. Swarm robotics borrows from the idea that coordination can arise from local rules rather than top-down control. In some experimental systems, even living plant tissues have been used as biological components in sensing devices. Subtle electrical shifts within leaves can indicate environmental change. The plant becomes both organism and instrument. Such work expands our definition of intelligence beyond brains. It suggests that cognition might be understood as the capacity of a system to acquire information, store traces of it, integrate multiple variables, and adjust behavior in ways that enhance persistence. By that measure, plants participate in cognition, quietly, slowly, without awareness as we know it. This reframing carries philosophical weight. For centuries, we divided life into thinkers and non-thinkers, movers and the unmoving, minds, and mere matter. But perhaps intelligence is not confined to motion or speech. Perhaps it is any structured responsiveness to complexity. A forest then becomes not scenery, but a layered exchange of signals. Leaves tracking light angles, roots negotiating unseen territories, chemical messages drifting through air at concentrations too faint for us to notice. All of it unfolding without haste. There is something comforting in that slowness. In a world that values rapid answers and instant reactions, plants demonstrate another tempo. Decisions are measured in growth, memory encoded in form, communication carried by scent and soil. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, yet remarkably effective. As you lie here, breathing steadily, you might imagine roots extending in darkness, not searching with urgency, but with persistence, testing one direction, then another, adjusting subtly when conditions change. This is problem solving in slow motion, a quiet dialogue between organism and environment. And perhaps there is a gentle lesson in that. Intelligence does not always need to rush. Adaptation does not require spectacle. Sometimes resilience is built through small adjustments, layered over time. A threshold is shifted, a pathway primed, a branch angled slightly differently tomorrow than today. The plant world reminds us that responsiveness can be patient. As your thoughts begin to soften, consider how many systems around you operate in similar ways. Your own body regulating temperature and rhythm without conscious oversight. Cells communicating in chemical languages older than thought. Life has many architectures for managing complexity. The neuronal brain is only one. Beneath it lies a broader landscape of living computation, distributed, embodied, and continuous. Outside, somewhere, leaves may be adjusting to the cooling night air. Stomata narrowing. Internal clocks preparing tissues for darkness. Underground networks humming with faint electrical shifts as ions move across membranes. All of it steady, all of it unhurried. You do not need to follow every detail now. It is enough to sense the pattern. Information gathered, compared, integrated, released. And as plants settle into their nocturnal rhythms, you can settle into yours. Breathing in, breathing out. Let the idea of quiet intelligence drift beside you, not demanding attention, not seeking definition, just present. The world continues, even in stillness. Roots extend, signals pass, growth recalibrates. And here, in this calm space, you can rest within that same gentle unfolding. May your thoughts grow lighter. May your breathing deepen. May your sleep arrive like a slow, patient dawn beneath the soil. Good night.